These teams, if they want a player, they're willing to put in the first round picks. We got Walker Kessler going for 4 first round picks, 2 swaps, and 2 unprotected firsts. So Walker Kessler, Utah Jazz, played 5 games last year because of a torn labrum, is going to the Lakers. In the aftermath of LeBron James leaving, they have pivoted and gotten Quentin Grimes. They've gotten Collin Sexton. They got Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler is going for a higher return than what the Mavericks got for Luka Doncic. They gave up fewer assets to get Luka than what they are giving up to get Walker Kessler. So a 2028 swap, a 2030 swap, a 2031 first, and a 2033 first for Walker Kessler. Dan, we're going to talk about Kawhi in a little bit, but this kind of crossed the wire as we're prepping for this show. I hope this works out for the Lakers, because if it doesn't, if Walker Kessler continues to deal with shoulder issues or is hurt and not able to be the rim protector and the lob threat that Luka thrives next to, I'm not going to say he's going to force himself out of there. Luka Doncic, you're playing with fire because now you have no tradable firsts. Sure, you could try if you want to pivot, you move off of Austin Reeves and try to get something for Austin Reeves. But this feels like a very risky move for the Lakers. They get Walker Kessler, but certainly not playoff tested. I wouldn't even venture to say that he's all that high-level basketball tested with the Utah Jazz. But now, think about it. His tenure with the Utah Jazz has not been successful from a winning standpoint. And so you're asking him to be the championship caliber center for Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. They gave up a 2031 first and a 2033 unprotected and a 2030 swap in an era we don't even know what the draft looks like. So maybe if 2 teams that are trade partners, Danny Ainge being like, all right, we're going to, this is, I think, a huge point in this offseason. There are some GMs who feel like the 2030, 2031, 2032, that window, that era is actually going to be more valuable because the pendulum's going to switch all the way to the other side. That right now, it seems like those first round picks up until 2029, when the system sunsets, it's too flat. And I think maybe some GMs are looking at it that actually the ones after that are going to be more valuable because it's going to be after, Giannis and Kawhi are not at their peak anymore. And because the NBA likes to have this whiplash effect of, we love Vegas and then we don't, we're going to go to the Hinkle Fieldhouse. Oh, we love the draft reform and then we're actually going to flatten it completely. We love this aspect of the league and then we're going to completely change, where it seems like the unintended consequences become too great and they're going to flip in the other direction. The Lakers are saying, we don't think there's going to be any risk of that because in 2030 and 2031, 2033, we're going to have Luka Doncic anyway. And because of the new draft reform rules that we don't even know about in 2030, those picks aren't going to be, those are kind of fake picks anyway. Dan, it's fascinating. Some teams are willing to give those draft picks up and some are stockpiling them. And a team that is young and wants to rebuild into a real contender in the Western Conference, the Utah Jazz said, Walker, see ya. We want those first round picks and we don't have a center Yusuf Nurkic. We're fine with moving forward with Jaren Jackson Jr. and Lauri Markkanen, Ace Bailey and Darren Peterson and Keontae George. We don't need a high level center right now. We're good with Jaren Jackson, who's more of a 4/5. I think it's so fascinating that some teams want those first round picks and others are like, yeah, we'll give you 4 first round picks, 2 swaps, 2 firsts, unprotected, to get Walker Kessler, who has played a whopping 5 games last season, and before that 58 games, and before that 64 games. So he wasn't a beacon of stability before this, and the Lakers are still betting big on Walker Kessler.
Yeah, I mean, with Walker Kessler, so much of his projection, because as you mentioned, the Jazz, even when he was playing, the Jazz were essentially a laboratory in trying to determine new ways to lose, right? Most of what the last few seasons in Utah have been this sort of deep rebuild, let's call it charitably, that occasionally drew the NBA's attention to the degree that they fined them $100,000 for the way they were manipulating their roster. And so the fundamentals of who he has been on the floor they look a lot like what you'd want your starting center to be next to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves in a Western Conference where you got to deal with Victor Wembanyama and then other big men too, right? 7'2", 250 pounds, one of the elite offensive rebounders in the game. So it's, if Wemby's going to like step up, he's got to work in the same way that you have to worry about Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns in the finals. Got to worry about a guy going and being one of the best offensive rebounders in the league on the glass, right? Routinely up in the top 5 in blocks per game throughout his career, block percentage up in the top 5, top 10. The defensive impact at the rim in terms of opponent field goal percentage allowed at the basket, elite in that regard when Walker Kessler's been on the floor. The fundamentals of what it looks like: screen, dive, offensive rebound, finish, protect the rim. It all makes sense, right? Luka Doncic took the Mavericks to the finals with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford playing a very similar style of role here. There's theoretical upside, untapped upside with Walker Kessler actually started shooting some threes too. Maybe there's some more to that, some more stretch in the corners. There's some flexibility here, some a lot to like, but it is projection. And the word that you use that I think is really apt here is risk. It's about your appetite for risk and even what you conceive of risk to be, right? If I'm the Lakers, I can look at this and say, the main risk here, if I don't come away from this offseason, from this transaction cycle, with a center for Luka Doncic, it's the thing he wants. It's the thing we've been angling toward. We know we have to make and keep this guy happy and give him the fundamental north-south, rim pressure, rim running, the engine of the offense that makes this all work. And then the guy who cleans everything up on the back end. If we don't get him that guy and we got to run this back with DeAndre Ayton, how pissed off is he in 3 months, right? And then do we have a new set of problems? So I think that there's that component to it. The draft pick component to it, I think, is interesting because I don't necessarily believe that teams like the Lakers and the Raptors are nihilists, but there's some element to it of we don't know what the system's going to look like in 3 years. We don't know if any of us are going to be in our jobs in 3 years. We don't know what any of this is going to sort of look like or what's going to matter most. So if we think we're and if there's a spectrum, midpoint is exact 41 and 41, even net rating, really low title equity. If we think we're a little closer to more title equity and 50 wins versus being further away than that, go for it now. Give yourself the opportunity. Give yourself a shot. There's no such thing, with the exception of, Oklahoma City having stockpiled a decade's worth of picks and San Antonio doing something similar. And then also those guys kind of lucking into generational talents or not lucking, being savvy in their moves or whatever. But if you don't have already the forever stockpile of picks and the generational talent, your windows now are 3 years. There's a new champion every year. The teams in the conference finals are rotating pretty regularly. We're seeing powers rise and fall kind of at increasingly rapid speeds. So if you think there's a window now for the next 2 years, 3 years, go get it, because who the hell knows? Heading into the playoffs, I don't know that anybody would have said the Knicks are going to be able to go past. I don't think they can beat Detroit. I don't think they can beat Boston. I don't think they can beat Oklahoma City. I don't think they can beat San Antonio. But things break the way they break, and if you give yourself a shot, who knows? Heading into last spring or the spring before this one, I don't know how many people were talking about the Indiana Pacers in that way. And then things line up, and the matchups work in the way they are, and there may be one obvious catastrophic injury away from being a champion that nobody saw coming, right? This is a world now where it's not. I think it's very difficult to model 5 years from now, even irrespective of the part where the league is telling you we're sunsetting these new rules after 2029. So even if you knew that the draft rules were going to stay constant 5 years from now, it's really difficult to model what the field look like in that way and how realistic it is that you're going to have the opportunity to compete year after year after year. So whether this is the wisest course of action for the Lakers, whether Walker Kessler is like a quote unquote A-list center that's going to be the straw that stirs the drink for the Lakers on both ends of the floor, they look at it and say, we had to make a move at center. We had to improve on that position. We had to take this. This is our opportunity with cap space. We've signed Austin Reeves. We have Luka on the extension. LeBron's cap hold comes off. This is our money. So we got to get a center today. So they do it. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I think that there's something to be said for like, you got to go for it now, because now is more and more fleeting than it's ever been in the NBA.